Oh, hey, I totally saw you there. What a silly troop. We're unplugging the car to go on a trip. That's how long it takes to plug it in and unplug it. But we'll catch you on the flip side. On several videos, I've had loads of comments of people explaining to me how quickly they can fill their gas cars, or asking why I don't switch back to a gas car. And I got so many comments about 3-minute gas fills, 5-minute, 2-minute gas fills. It annoyed me pretty greatly. When I used to get gas, it would take me about 10 minutes to stop, assuming that I didn't have to wait on the pump or go inside for any reason. And that's just to fill the gas from when the light turned on to when it clicked off, and then to let it settle, all the bubbles get out, and fill it one more time till it clicked off again, and then to log everything in my logs. So about the 50th time I heard this 3-minute fill claim, along with some very uncivil language, I got super annoyed and decided to do something about it. So today we're going to look at an experiment to see how long it actually takes to fill up with gas on a reasonable stop. And then we're going to look at all the various charging. And then we're going to go back into the lab and take a look at the numbers overall. Before we get started, I want to thank our patrons, Jason B. and Fred B. And I want to thank our first channel member, Teslucky. You can check them out on their channel, their mother-daughter duo, Jen and Carly, and their Tesla Lucky. You can catch the adventures of Lucky the Tesla, as I said, right up there. And we'll catch you on the flip side.
I need to get those points. I say, I want to take my car. It's all jacked up. Pump's messed up. Has me waiting and waiting. Approved. Move my card. No, thank you. we're pumping. Still pumping. And finally done. 25 gallons. Pull up. Yes, I would. Thank you very much.
All right, there we go. Car started. And now we're going to pretend that you can immediately leave from the pump to the street. So that would be, I'm guessing he's going to reverse into this parking spot. All right, drive away. Perfect. And we'll go ahead and stop there. So 7 minutes and 32 seconds, 0.79. So from the time you rounded the corner to the time you rounded the other corner was 7 minutes and 32 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I mean, it's close to 5 minutes, but how many gallons did it take?
It was about 25 and a half gallons, I believe.
So that's about a standard fill for anybody. And how much did that cost a day?
I think it was close to 50 bucks.
Okay. Is that standard or not? It's been so long since I got gas.
Oh, yeah, I guess we're about at $2.40, $2.39 a gallon.
Okay. And so when you have to come here or anywhere else, how far out of your way is it? Is it like 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 3 minutes?
Coming here, it's kind of not too far out of the way. I'll say 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely, it's not like being able to charge at home and leave.
Okay, so you've got a unique perspective on this because you have both a gas car and a Tesla with solar. So
Yes.
for you, filling up your Tesla is free, right?
Right.
And
Yes.
we're going to do a demonstration later in this video showing you how long it takes to plug in at home with our case is a Tesla, but any electric car, how to plug in at home is going to be a similar process.
Right.
And yours, like before anybody says, oh, solar cells, blah, 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 it uses the grid at night. Neighbor's actually got battery backup at his house. So at night, his car is still filling up from his battery packs because he's got enough to run his whole house for days.
Yes.
Should the sun go down and not come back up for whatever
I
reason.
have 4 power walls on my house.
There you go. For me, the quickest I've ever been in and out while using, like I had to go to the truck stop where they've got the high flow fill. It took me 5 minutes. And if I was tracking my miles, for MPGs or for work or anything, it would take a minute to, get the receipt and then write it down in the logbook. But not everybody does that, so I'll count that out. But as you saw, whenever that's just paying at the pump. Imagine every time I go inside, it could be 3 a.m., it could be after rush hour. There's always going to be a line. It's like you arrive at the place and there's nobody in there, and all of a sudden you go pay for your gas, and there's like 3 people who want to just chit chat with the cashier
Right.
at 3 in the morning. It's like,
Right.
Where did you come from?
Right. You're exactly right.
And then let alone, as you saw, like with this case here, with pump 2 was broken, so he had to back up and go to pump 6.
Right. Yeah, the first pump was broken. The pump 4 is
Diesel only?
diesel only. And so luckily there was nobody behind me at pump 6 because I would have had to go around and
And do it again.
wait for a pump to open.
Yeah, and that having to redo it doesn't invalidate the experiment, because what that does is shows us, like, say he had to wait in line behind somebody, so he pulled up and then they moved, and now he's going to back up into the spot and pump up. So,
Right.
I mean, that's just a little bit of a little fun one for a Sunday morning. And if you want to leave a comment down below with your experiences filling up an EV or a fossil car, particularly a EV that can fast charge, because the level 2 is a completely different experience. But if you are charging at home to go on your daily drive, it's fine. It's just you wouldn't necessarily want to take a level 2 only on a trip without some sort of way to get more speed in there.
Right.
All right, we're back with Nevri and his Model 3, and we're going to see what it takes on a daily basis to keep your electric car, particularly in this case a Tesla Model 3, filled up with charge. And then he goes home for the night.
That's it.
That's all there is to it. With the trips, with your supercharger system, what have you found? For a lot of people, like, oh, I can't wait 30 minutes, blah, blah, blah. For me, personally, I go in, and we go to the restroom, and we order food, and then by the time they're putting the food in the bag, the car is sending me a text, hey, come move, it's time to finish your trip. How's your situation with?
That's exactly what it's been for me, because the way we set up our trips, it's where I don't have to stop and get a full charge every single time. So by the time we stop somewhere and I plug in, we run in, everybody use the bathroom, everybody grab whatever we're gonna eat for the next portion of the trip, wait in line, pay for it, and we're headed back out to the car. It's actually passed. I've actually gotten more charge than
you needed.
I actually stopped there needing. Right.
Nice. Yeah. And was that like 15 minutes, 20 minutes at the most?
Yeah, at the most. Yeah, 15 to 20.
Yeah. And if you were ever at a slow one, how much extra waiting on your trip? Is that 5, 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah, usually I don't ever really have any extra time because the distance between the stops, I usually want to get out for a few minutes. And by the time I get out, stretch my legs and get the back ready to sit down for a couple hours. The car is waiting on me most of the time.
Same here. I like the stretch the legs part. And in this video here where I'm towing, you might hear me talk about charging for an hour. That's only because on the southeast, the supercharger network wasn't complete at the time. It still could use some work, but it's not as bad as it used to be. And when you're towing, you're using 2, 3, 4 times what the car normally consumes. And when there's not as many chargers, especially when you can't back into all of them. You would usually just sit there and charge longer to deal with it. I could have shortened most of those stops, but as you saw on the one section where I got there with 4%, it's a good thing I proceeded on caution, because a tow truck to tow both me and the trailer would have been quite a little bit of logistics. But those are not typical situations for us. Normally, you put in on the map where you want to go. The car will say, hey, you need to go here, here, and here to make your destination. So I'm going to show you, we're going to try to go to Disney World on the map, and you'll see what it does once we get to the supercharger. You'll see it's going to give us like 4 stops, and then that's all it takes. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Never.
Hey, no problem.
There will be significantly less energy when your battery gets colder. Okay. So, navigate to Epcot. Yeah, that's the one. So if you arrive at if you're trying to go anywhere and it's too far for your state of charge, so right now we're at 19%, the car will route you through as many superchargers as necessary. Typically your charges will be shorter than this because you'll start your trip out full rather than completely empty. So in our case, it's telling us, don't forget that this vehicle has limited supercharging speeds, so it's going to be about an hour each way, or each stop. But had we started with a full charge instead of a no charge, then each stop would be shorter. So we'll compare this again when we get some more charge. So let's get out and do that, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Grab this, click it, plug it in, done. So then at this point, go inside, grab a bite to eat, come back, and then it should be good to go. So let's see how far this car gets it now. Alright, so already you can see that the estimated charge time has dropped down to 45, and we're getting up past 120. So it looks like this car has been uncorked. Yay! 135, 137. If it gets to 170 again, I'll be happy. But getting to 150 is a nice treat because, like I said, it had been previously capped. So that's the equivalent of almost 500 miles an hour charging. Well, she might get there, 169. And now it says we are good to go to the next stop. So this is what I was talking about with the trip planner. It will let you know when it is good to go to your next stop. And here it goes, picking the next supercharger because we still don't have enough to make it to Florida. So now it wants us to stop in Springfield. And it's picking how long? Springfield for 25 minutes. So this is what I'm talking about right here. Is these stops are typically, it would still be shorter than this because we're only coming from 63%. Typically, you'd start at 80 to 90%, and as you see, these numbers drift down. It's cold out, we're on the highway, and so it's just making sure that we're not surprised. And so once we get to Springfield, it would do the same thing. It would revise everything down. And this was enough time for us to go to the restroom, stretch our legs, grab a bite to eat at the restaurant here, and get back in the car, and we're on our way. We'll catch you on the flip side. Let's look at the numbers now. If I only got gas once per week, that's 7 minutes times 52 weeks, which equals 364 minutes, or 6.06 hours per year, filling from just commuting for me on gasoline with a comparable vehicle. In this case, I chose a 2019 Audi Q8 Quattro Hybrid as comparable to my vehicle, a 2018 Tesla Model X P100D. Commuting with electric, I would spend 4 seconds per day, 6 seconds per week. At 52 weeks a year, that's 1,248 seconds, or 20.8 minutes per year filling, if all of my trips were local, which would be the same as commuting with the Audi. Let's look at my trip to Epcot in the Tesla versus the Audi. Google Maps says that the trip should take 12 hours and 16 minutes with no stops for fuel, food, or restrooms. I used 3 trip planners, a better route planner, which matches my Tesla experience over 2 cars and a few 100,000 miles over several years, Tesla's trip planner website, and GasBuddy. They all vary slightly in the distance to get us through their preferred stations, the gas being the best balance of price and the route, the Tesla being the closest to the route. Let's start with the Audi. That's 4 stops at 7 minutes each, which equals 28 minutes fueling and whatever time spent eating and restroom breaking, according to GasBuddy, as seen here. Why did I use 2 different trip planners for the Tesla? The charging situation varies greatly depending on whether your priority is to minimize stops or to minimize time on the road, which is my preference. The filling of a battery is like filling a bucket with a hose, and trying not to spill a drop. The closer to the top you get, the slower you must fill to keep the flow under control. A better route planner has me making 7 stops of about 20 minutes, roughly 2 hours and 13 minutes of fueling. So if we didn't eat or use the restroom, it appears that the Audi is just under an hour faster. However, this isn't a trip I take regularly, and my wife and I do use the facilities and eat on our trips of a few hours like this. Just for demonstration, Tesla's trip planner, they shave it down to just 5 stops, but they spend 45 minutes and 10 minutes on one stop, while the rest are a whopping hour each. So charging to full at each stop runs us 3 hours and 45 minutes of charging. You pay per kilowatt hour or minutes spent charging, depending on what's legal in the area. So minimizing stops is not worth the time and monetary costs incurred by the extra waiting. A better route planner has us making the trip in 14 hours and 42 minutes versus Tesla planners at 16 hours and 6 minutes, and GasMoney and Google's 12 hours and 44 minutes. This is an exceptional trip that my family and I do take. However, normal people would probably take a plane, a train, or a bus. So let's compare something much more reasonable. From January 2019 to January 2020, I took 1,680 drives and traveled 30,890.65 miles. This was roughly 693 hours and 15 minutes spent driving, and 1.21 megawatt hours consumed. This didn't cost me a dime, but it would have been $1,634.70 if I didn't have my charging fully covered with solar and free supercharging. To do this with the Audi Hybrid at 22 miles per gallon would have been 30,891.65 miles at 22 miles per gallon, which is 1,404.16 gallons. So that amount of gallons times 0.204, which was 2019's average gas price in 2019, according to Everlance, was $2,800.48. The Audi has a tank size of 22.5 gallons. If I could somehow not lose a drop to any circumstances or vapor and ran the car dry the whole time, that would be 1,404.16 gallons at 22.5 gallon tanks, which equals 62.4 fill-ups. So 62.4 fill-ups at 7 minutes each is 436.85 minutes filling, which is 7.28 hours minimum spent at the gas station in that same year. So that's $1,229.78 more than the Tesla if I had to pay. But again, it was actually $2,864.48 more because I didn't pay for fueling in 2019 to 2020. It is also 7 hours more fueling for the year than the Tesla, assuming that all miles were local. Next, we're going to assume that all of my trips over 180 miles involved a supercharger session. So that's 2,180.31 miles on average. The battery usage was 75.9% or 69.43 kilowatt hours. And if I had to pay for supercharging, that would have been about $9.37 per supercharger trip on average, and 198 miles per trip at 15 minutes per stop. That'd be about 2180.31 total miles divided by 198.21 average trip length, gives us 11 trips total. So 11 trips at 15 minutes each is 165 minutes, which is 2.75 hours spent potentially waiting on my car over the last 30,000 plus miles. So my EV potentially had me waiting for 4.53 less hours than gas would have, as the wait for gas is the same if you go local or on long trips. I say potentially because nearly every trip the car is texting me and my wife to come get back on the road after we go to the restroom and go order food. These texts usually arrive before the food is in the bag, so usually the car is waiting on us. So to the folks asking, why don't I just go back to gas? This is why. To the folks that say they can get gas and be in and out in 3 minutes, I'm calling shenanigans. To the 5-minute gas folks, I say maybe in the best of conditions, but I think typically you're going to spend more than that based on what we see here. So why don't I just switch back to gas? I value my time and money. All of this was comparing just the fueling. The maintenance on a fossil car skews all of this even further for both expense and time spent waiting on the car. The only maintenance my EVs have required over the years were tires and wipers. My Model S did get a 2-year annual maintenance, but the schedule for maintenance was later removed, so that would make that an optional maintenance, not required. While my hybrids and gas cars instead had numerous fluid and belt and etc. changes that are not applicable to an electric vehicle. Does this mean that going electric is right for you? I personally think so, if there's a car out there that meets your requirements. Did I even suggest to these helpful individuals that I thought I was experiencing a problem or inconvenience or ask for their assistance or advice? Definitely not. Did I suggest that they were wrong on what they were doing or they should switch? No. These were videos for Tesla and EV owners and enthusiasts, so I wasn't even addressing them. Over here are 2 videos that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy, and over here is a subscription bubble, and we'll catch you on the flip side.